Hey guys, Larry here. Just wanted to talk to you guys about a few things. I did a video not too long ago in regards to why people should reload. But I want to touch base more on reloading for accuracy. Um, there are there's a bunch of great factory ammo out there that will give you really good results. Um, if you're shooting semi-automatic, by all means, spend the money on that if you want. But if you're shooting bolt action rifles, um, those rounds are going to be they're actually created to fit any and all chambers, from a semi-automatic chamber or magazine that has different tolerances for the overall length of the cartridge to uh, chamber tolerances can be slightly off a little bit compared to a bolt action. But we're just gonna talk about the reloading for accuracy in a bolt action rifle, um, which is going to give you more consistent ammo. The big thing with a lot of your factory ammos is that yes, they're using top of the line, bullets, um, probably the best powder that they can find that works best with their specific bullet. But the problem with that is that you're getting inconsistent powder throws because they're mass producing this stuff. Your cases have not been properly um, gone through, and inconsistent areas been fixed. Um, Plus, your rifle itself has a specific powder charge for the that it likes. That's why you'll see a lot of videos where people do um, a powder charge workup or an OCW, optimum charge weight, and they go through and they shoot. Some people shoot round robin. Some people shoot all of the cartridges that they have for each um, powder charge that they've gone and created based on taking and starting at a certain point and going just above the maximum. Usually it figures out to be a 10% increase, uh, where, like with my 7 millimeter Rem Mag, I started out with some fouling shots that gave me a chance to foul up the barrel. But what they're not telling you in a lot of these videos is that if you're taking a brand new, perfectly clean, rifle out, barrel has no fouling in it whatsoever, you're not going to get consistent, accurate um, ammo, information that you need to be able to reload ammo for your rifle. There's a guy on here that I've learned a lot from. Goes by Tiborosaurus Rex, and he has a video. He's got actually several videos in regards to long range shooting as part of his Sniper 101 videos. And I have gone through and watched quite a few of those because I've always been interested in that. And I've learned a lot of new things that I never really took into consideration along the way. But the big thing is you need to get a proper copper equilibrium build up in your barrel. Once you've done that, now you're going to get the consistency from each different powder charge that you're trying to find the harmonics to the barrel of your gun. So then that way you can choose the proper powder charge based on not necessarily by the best group, but you're looking for something that's actually consistent, which with mine I found out that I had one powder charge where it shot like low left, and then the next powder charge was like high right. Next powder charge was high right, but closer to the point of impact that I was aiming at, which I was just shooting at um, like half-inch dots, 1-inch dots or whatever at 100 meters. And then the third one also shot high right, or the fourth, I guess it would be at this point, shot high right. And then the final one shot low. So out of those 5, I had a consistent pattern with high right, high right, high right. With the middle of those 3 being closest to the bullseye. That would be my optimum charge weight, which happened to figure out in my rifle was 59.7 grains of powder for the bullet weight that I was shooting, and also the powder I was using. Granted, this is going to vary from powder to powder. Bullet weights are going to change that. But once I figured that out, then I could go back and I could figure out proper bullet seating depth, which mine likes 3/1000 off the lands. And I haven't gotten into neck turning yet. I'm just now starting to get into worrying about head space, which I'm going to talk about all this here in a little bit. But I've always been one for, I don't buy new brass. I buy what they call once fired. It's range brass that, you can go and buy lots of it at a time. You just got to clean it usually and reload it. In my case, I turn around and trim everything that I get. That way everything starts out at the trim length. And it'll all should grow consistently and evenly from one round to the next. But I have started getting into other things. I've always turned around and cleaned my flash hole by using a deburring tool and cleaning up the brass inside, because brass isn't perfect. There are imperfections throughout it all the way through. It's poured in a mold. If you've done anything that deals with pouring anything in a mold, even if you just set up a form and poured a piece of concrete, it's got rough edges. Those rough edges don't give you consistent results when you're talking about shooting ammo or for accuracy. So there are so many things that you can do that the factory's not going to do to make your ammo more and more and more accurate, until you get to a point where you just can't make it any more accurate. The gun's only going to shoot as well as it can, and the ammo is only going to perform as well as it can, and the shooter can only do so much on top of that. So I am very particular about, obviously, reloading. You're going to get the most accurate rounds you possibly can for your rifle if you reload your own ammo. You can get into neck turning. Okay, we'll talk about neck turning. I haven't done any yet. Planning on it. I've been reloading and shooting for years and just have never gotten into turning, turning the necks on my cases and all that, um, because I haven't really gotten into the art of reloading and crafting the most accurate round I can get. I've gradually continued to increase how I can get more and more accurate. But when they talk about neck turning, there's a tool out there that allows you to turn just the neck. But just like where I was talking about the flash hole inside here, the primer, ignites and goes up through the little hole. The flash hole has burrs in it and things like that. Your neck wall thicknesses are not they're not true all the way around your neck case, or the case around the case of. So what happens is your neck wall thicknesses might be thicker in one spot than another, and when the gas builds up in here, the thin spot releases the bullet before the thicker spot. And because of that, you don't get clean, consistent bullet velocities, point of impact. They'll be close. Don't get me wrong there. Like I said, I've never turned a case neck in my life, and my rifle still shoots, quarter to 3/10 of an inch, 5-shot groups at 100 meters without a problem. And that's just with what little bit I do for my cases, which after you've deburred the flash hole, you shouldn't ever have to do it again. It's a one-time thing. Primer pocket uniformity. You would be shocked at how much of a difference there is in primer pockets. And I have my caliper here, which to figure out, all you have to do is stick this in here, which here I'll extend it out a little more. So we're going to extend it out. We're going to stick this little piece here down inside, and we're going to push it down until it's flat. After I do that, you can see that I have 0.1315 on this one. So this is the one I just did. I have two more cases here. Here are the other two. And I will just hold them up like this. I'm going to stick this one in here. I'm going to run it down flat. And this one reads 0.127. I'll flip it around so you can see. 0.127. And we're going to run this one back out. And we're going to push it back down in there. And this one reads 0.132. So, obviously the one that reads 0.132 is the deepest of my primer pockets. You want uniformity on everything if you want accuracy. I mean, if you want the best accuracy you can get, everything has to be uniform. Primer pockets, case neck wall thickness, your case volume, which is set by your by the shoulder. Some of you may not know what the shoulder is. Most of you will if you ever watch this video. The shoulder is this angled section on the case. So when your cartridge is chambered, you want the tightest tolerances you can get all the way around, so that way this sits in there as tight and as straight as possible. But you don't want it so tight that you have to force everything shut. I have actually figured out that my headspace on my rifle is, which is measured from about the halfway point on the shoulder to the head stamp on the base of the case. And mine measures out to be 2.129 inches, and I have to force the bolt closed. So what I want is uniformity, so that way my case volume stays the same across all of my rounds. I want to bump it back. You know, a lot of people say 2 thousandths. That's a lot when you're talking such minor tolerances. So I have gone through and figured out that 2.127 actually closes smooth and easy with minimal effort in my rifle. And so now that I have that, which I just got into doing head spacing, by doing such a minimum bump back when I resize my cases, the case isn't going to stretch as much. And with it not stretching as much, you're not putting as much stress on it, because obviously the case heats up, stretches to fit the exact chamber of your rifle, and then when you resize it, it shrinks it back down, so that way it fits easily again. A lot of people do strictly neck sizing until they get their head space, their cases stretched to where they can't shut the bolt on their rifle. And once they've done that, then they know what the maximum tolerance is for their head space. I didn't worry about doing that. I turned around and went through and used a headspace gauge to figure out what the longest measurement I had was on one of my cases that had been fired out of my rifle. And I took that empty case, stuck it back in, and tried to chamber it. And I could get it to chamber, but I had to force the bolt locked. So I considered that my maximum headspace tolerance, which would be technically 0. Now I want to bump that back 2 thousandths. So that's what I'm going to do. That's my choice. Some people want to bump theirs back further. Some people only want to bump it back 1 thousandth. That is everybody's particular choice on that. But remember, the more you bump that shoulder back when you resize your cases, the more manipulation of the metal that you're doing on that case, and you're not going to have as much longevity to where you can't reload as often. So that's something that's new to me. I'm curious to see how well that works. Obviously, it's going to give me the case volume uniformity that you want, so you get consistent powder pressure, pressures inside of your case and your chamber and all that. It's also going to give you, because of that, you're going to get the same bullet release, and it's going to give you more consistent velocities, where neck turning is going to help that, because the bullet's going to get released evenly once you neck turn to where you have uniformity on the neck. And that makes sense. But I go through, and also, I already showed you about the variances in primer pockets. And I will go through and I will ream them out. And once you have a certain depth that you're going to make them all at, your primer pocket reamer, you can adjust it, so then that's all the deeper you'll go on all of your cases. That way they all match. That way it sets the primer at the same depth on every case. It's consistent. accuracy and consistency go hand in hand. Just like when you're consistent behind the rifle, you get better groupings. Um, every time I reload, I also, because you're going to have fouling in your cases, that, obviously these are um, dirty from the primer charge, fouling that up. I have, where's they at? These are on my 223s, but after you go and clean your primer pockets, they'll be all nice and shiny like this. That way you get that consistency. I don't worry about the consistency on my 223s. I'm shooting it out of an AR-15, and it is not a gun that I'm worrying about putting shot after shot after shot in the same hole. So this was caused by me reaming out the crimp on my military brass. All right, so we were talking about neck sizing, so that way you can get your brass to expand, uh, to find out what that maximum tolerance is. You can also pretty much shortcut like I did, to figure out your headspace. A lot of people do not like the full length resize because they feel they're manipulating the brass and the case too much, and they don't get as much life expectancy out of it. So they use what's called a body sizing uh, die. So it doesn't resize the neck; it only resizes the body and then bumps back the shoulder at the same time. You can actually bump back the shoulder with a full length resizing die, which I've, since I'm getting into head spacing, and I don't want to spend the extra money right now on just a body sizing die just for bumping the shoulder back and all this other stuff. You have to understand that, when you watch a video or read a book on how to set up your reloading press and set up your resizing die, that they turn around and tell you to screw it all the way, run the ram up, screw it all the way in until the die touches the shell plate or the shell holder, depending on what your system uses, and you're set. Well, this is true, but you're set for bumping the shoulder back, um, based on whatever the die is set for. So if your die in that position bumps it back 5 thousandths, well, you've bumped it back 3 thousandths more than what I plan on doing. So there are things you can do and still get a full length resize out of it, which you're not manipulating the brass that much. I took and last night I was messing around with it, and I figured out that to get the shoulder bump that I want, I actually had to back my resizing die off by a full turn. Um, but a full turn doesn't really move it that far off of the uh, shell plate or the shell case or the shell holder at that point. Um, so I'm still getting a full size uh, full length resize on my case. It's resizing the case neck, so then that way a bullet fits in here and has to be pressed in, so I get consistent case neck tension on the bullet. There are dies out there that you can, they're for match grade ammo that you can reload your own, and you can turn around and buy different bushings based on the bushing is set up to where it only squeezes the case neck back into a certain size, rather than just your standard full-length resizing die. It has a removable bushing on these higher dollar. Right now I'm not into match, the match shooters where they're shooting bench rest and all this other stuff. So I don't see the point in me spending the money that it would take to get that precise. Basically, I can kind of do the same thing, but my tolerances aren't going to be as specific, because whatever mine, crimps it, not crimps, but resizes the neck down to, from it sliding up in there and then reforming it as it comes back out. As long as my, let's see here, this one probably hasn't been resized. Well, actually it might have been. It is missing the primer, so I'm going to guess it has been. I cannot even force a bullet for this down inside of here, but my press is going to. So I'm going to get even neck tension all the way around. By getting that, we're going right back. I need to neck turn. I don't have a neck turn tool. I'm looking at getting into all that because I want to improve my accuracy with my rifle. I want everything to be consistent and true, from primers all the way through powder charge to how I seat the bullets, with bullet seating depth. I want the most consistent I can get that my rifle likes to give me those accurate, those accurate groups that everybody wants. Everybody wants to shoot as accurately as possible. Something else that plays a factor in that is called bullet runout. A lot of companies have a concentricity tool out there, and it allows you to figure out how straight your bullet is in the case. I've actually taken factory ammo and ran it on my concentricity tool, and the bullet runout on almost every round that I ran that was factory ammo was at least 5 thousandths or more. And that's a lot, because the bullet's not going to come out straight if it's not straight. Most people who can shoot consistent and accurate and everything, I mean, the more accurate you can be, the better chance you have of actually being able to extend your distances, out to, 800, 900, 1,000, or even beyond that, much easier, because everything is consistent you're doing your job, the rifle's doing its job. There are things, obviously, when you get into your long range shooting and your extreme long range shooting that come into play. I'm not going to talk about that. Um, but shooting from 100 meters out to 500 meters, uh, reloading your own ammo, and even if you can't, go out and buy all the stuff right now, you can still start working on getting the most accurate ammo you can for what you can afford. So, go out and buy a single stage press. If you want an auto progressive, which for doing rifle rounds, I do it. I use an auto progressive. I've had really good luck with mine. It throws very consistent powder charges. They're all within a tenth, and I actually load light by a couple tenths, and then I trickle feed the additional amount in. But if you buy a single stage press, everything's going to be, your powder charge is going to be separate. Everything's going to be done out of reloading blocks, things like that. But either way, a single stage press is cheap, much cheaper than an auto progressive. But if you want to do handgun rounds, and you're going to be doing other things, don't worry about a single stage. You can do everything on an auto progressive press. But you can start out with just the press and the dies and the powder, the bullets, the primers, the cases, and you can start figuring out what your gun likes. Then you can move into some of the other cheaper stuff, like your primer pocket cleaners, your reamers, the what is it? Your primer pocket case uniformer, or primer pocket uniformers. That way you can get the seating depth of the primer even across all your cases that you have. The flash hole deburring tool, that's not expensive. You can also, and then maybe the next time you buy a case trimmer, or you buy a concentricity tool, or both. When it comes down to it, most of your stuff is a one-time expense. Your press is a one-time expense. Your dies are a one-time expense. Your shell plate or shell holder is a one-time expense. Your concentricity tool, one-time expense. Your scale is a one-time expense. Your case trimmer, one-time expense. Neck turning tool, one-time expense. Your reamers, your uniformers, your primer pocket cleaners, your flash hole deburring tool, all a one-time expense. The headspace gauges, one-time expense. Is it expensive to buy it all in one shot? It can be. You could turn around and, I use a Hornady auto progressive press. At the time that I bought it, it was like, I think it was on sale for like $395 or something like that, or it might have been even less than that. It was in the $300 range, three to $400. I know Amazon sells them. They sell them for I think it's like $408 or something like that. They're Amazon Prime, so you get free shipping. Uh, the place that I actually bought mine at the time, I believe, was Cabela's, and that was just, it might not. I don't know. It's been so long, I can't remember, but there is another site that I actually like to use. That they tend to have the cheapest prices on like all my reloading components, and a lot of times they got the uh, lowest prices on pretty much all of it. You know, from dies uh, to the press to, you know, anything you're gonna need. But I've been recently kind of comparing their stuff to what I can find on Amazon, and Amazon's actually, because you're getting free shipping. Um, when it comes down to the equipment and all that, it's actually a better buy. I might spend a couple dollars more to get the stuff, but I'm not paying shipping and handling in the long run. So I'm just kind of trying to look real quick here at the site that I have bought a lot of stuff off of. Here we go. And you stupid thing. All right, reloading. And I want presses. All right, so they've got pretty much every press you can think of on there. Okay, so right now they have actually the exact press I have, which is just the lock and load auto progressive Hornady press. It's $390, so it's $18, roughly $18 cheaper than what I think I saw it for on Amazon. How much is shipping and handling? I couldn't tell you on that. But then, you know, so we'll just call it $400 for a press. You're going to be talking about 40 to 50 bucks for the reloading dies. Then you're going to need I just drew a blank. And then if you look at a case trimmer, you're talking like $90 to $100. The concentricity tool, you're talking, you know, roughly 100 and it's probably gonna be probably about 100 and call it 110, 120 bucks. Neck turn tool, depending on what you go with. A lot of people use the little handheld ones. I want the Hornady one, just because I've had a lot of good luck with Hornady equipment. It's well built, but that's my opinion. But the one, you know, it's $100 and almost $15 for that. Then you have primers. The place that I get mine through, you can get 1,000 primers for, you know, for my magnums, it's like $33 for 1,000 primers. The powder I shoot is like $165 for an 8-pound jug. To give you an idea of, you know, how much powder you're going to possibly go through depending on what you're shooting. There's 7,000 grains of powder in a pound, and I'm shooting just short of 60 grains in every, you know, 7mm rim mag that I shoot. So you figure, you know, that's a little over 100 rounds per pound of powder. That's why I buy 8-pound jugs. Not to mention it's also the cheaper buy because you're buying in bulk. Then you can get into your bullets. I'm currently shooting the Hornady SSTs. Let's see if I can get that to focus in a little bit. In 162 grain. So for 100 of those, it cost me right at $30. I could tell you everything that I spend by bringing up one. I keep all this stuff. I've got spreadsheets for freaking everything because I've gotten into, keeping track of this stuff, just so I have a good idea of what's going on. So, and I talked about a lot of that in my other previous video where I actually showed, comparing reloading for cost effectiveness against buying factory ammo. And to actually buy the factory version of the SST, which is in their Hornady Superformance, for 20 rounds it costs $36.95 is the cheapest I could find anywhere for them. And I'm actually reloading that exact round at a cost of, as long as I have the case, it cost me 52 cents. If I have to buy cases, it costs me $1.17. So I'm taking and saving, let's see here. So cost per round based on 20 rounds at almost $37 is $1.85. So if I already have the cases, which I've got, I've got about 1,500 cases sitting here, it's going to cost me 52 cents every time I load a round versus $1.85. So I'm saving $1.33, and my loads are more accurate. Their stuff may shoot through my rifle, which I'm not going to test it against my rifle. I'm gonna do a video when I go out shooting again. I'm gonna buy a box of their Superformance SST 162 grain, and I'm gonna shoot them through my girlfriend's 7mm rem mag that is a Browning AB3, and I'm gonna compare my hand loads specifically for her rifle versus store-bought ammunition in the exact same bullet weight, so that way it's a fair comparison. And I'm doing it through shooting them through a $500 rifle rather than mine that has a match grade barrel and blah 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 blah. Her rifle, we haven't exactly figured out bullet seating depth yet, so I'll do all that at the exact same time. And that will, as far as I'm concerned, should give a fair comparison of reloading versus buying store-bought ammo. There's a lot of people that turn around and buy for plinking with their 223 or their 9mm, their 45, or their 308, in semi-automatic. They're buying steel cases. Anybody who knows anything about firearms knows that steel and aluminum and chromolys and all this other stuff, they don't go together. If you're going to use, just like when you go and buy a scope and scope rings and a scope base, if you buy an aluminum scope, you should buy aluminum rings and aluminum bases, because aluminum meshes with aluminum where steel doesn't. Steel just doesn't work well with aluminum parts. I will never shoot steel cases through any of my guns, but that's my opinion. That's why I reload. Obviously, steel cases are cheap, but this was all about reloading for accuracy. I'm going to tell you right now from personal experience, you will not find a box of factory ammo that shoots anywhere close to what a hand load will do. Just because they're made for every gun in that caliber on the market. They're meant to chamber. They're meant to not blow up your gun, obviously. So they haven't had the imperfections taken out of the cases, so you get inconsistent, bullet velocities from in the same batch. They'll be all over the place, and we're gonna find all that out. So hopefully when we get a chance to go out shooting, which I'm hoping on the 4th, that's what I'm gonna go do. Get up that morning and go out and put some lead down range and get her rifle, dialed in more than what I've been able to up to this point, because I did the bullet seating depth deal on it last time I went shooting, and I didn't get accurate results for one reason or another. So I wanted to redo it because I felt that her tightest group wasn't consistent because of the fact that usually, kind of like when you do your powder charge workup or your optimum charge weight, you get an anomaly that happens where you have maybe a large group when you're doing bullet seating depth, and then you might have a tight group, a tighter group, and maybe a little bit wider group, and then you get another big wide group. You get that anomaly that happens to where but hers didn't do that. Chances are it was probably me. I put a lot of rounds downrange, and anybody who's shot any Magnum rifles, they kick like a freaking mule. And so I'm going to redo that. And while I'm out there, I'm going to turn around and do I'm probably going to do several videos all at once, because I got a scope that I want to put on my rifle just to do a review on it. But I will get back with everybody and get another video out there, hopefully next week, in regards to hopefully I get to go shooting, and there's a chance of rain and all this other stuff, and where I got to go, I got to travel, and it might be muddy, who knows. But hopefully everybody enjoyed this video, and I may have to redo this video. I don't know. I have to sit and watch it and make sure that I touched on things and stayed pretty much on topic, and which here at the end I haven't. But I've gone over a lot of information and what you can do to manipulate your accuracy and get it to where it's better. Obviously, shooting off of some sort of support is going to help accuracy no matter what. I have a bipod. She doesn't. I need to get her a bipod. But I've made sandbags and a toe bag. Toe bag, man, I'd never used a toe bag before until I decided, I'm just going to make one. And holy crap, does that make a difference? Because you're rock steady. You're not still swaying around because you're not, supporting the gun by having to hold it up and everything else. It's resting on something, and you just have to maneuver it and get it positioned. Once you've got it positioned, you just got to stay behind the gun, and that, like I said, everything comes down to consistency. Consistent ammo is going to give you consistent results. Consistent results are going to be accurate. obviously not every rifle out there can shoot 1/4 inch groups or, be a tack driver. But you can take a standard hunting rifle that a lot of them, in the entry level, such as like her Browning AB3, guarantees sub MOA at 100. Okay, so it's going to shoot 0.999 inches at 100, shooting factory ammo. Is that okay? That's great. But what if you could be reloading your own and take that same rifle and do nothing else to it but figure out your optimum charge weight, your bullet seating depth, proper head spacing, um, your primer pocket being uniform, deburring your flash hole, turning the necks on them, cleaning the primer pockets every time. And whether you full length resize, neck size, or just body size to bump the shoulder back, you're still going to bump the shoulder back full length resizing. You just have to learn how to adjust it so it bumps back as much as you want it to. And then also fixing the bullet run out from whether, when you reload, they're not going to be 100% straight. Some will, some won't. Factory ammo, it's not going to be perfectly straight. So once you go and take out all the inconsistencies and make your ammo consistent, your rifle is going to shoot as well as it can possibly shoot, as long as you're consistent behind the rifle doing your job. Which was I happy with what I got out of her rifle for bullet seating depth the last time? Shot 6/10. I think it was 0.610 inches exactly. That's actually a really good group. I mean, basically half-inch group. When you're shooting a bullet that's 0.284 inches, it was barely double. So it'd be, in a sense, they're almost touching. I think her gun can do better, and it probably will do better once I start neck turning, and now that I know more about headspace and case volume, which go hand in hand, and making sure everything is as accurate and as consistent as I can possibly make it. We're going to find out. And like I said, using her gun to prove my point on this is the best way to do this, because it's not, $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 rifle that people would expect to be able to shoot a certain way with. It is a $500 rifle. I paid $499 plus tax. Between the gun, the bases, the rings, and the scope, I've got $800 or $900 in it. So stay tuned. I will be getting that done sooner the better. So then that way I can, maybe people like my videos a little more, which, I'm new to making videos, and I have an easier time talking directly to people rather than talking kind of to myself when I'm sitting here, staring at a camera or whatever, or sitting behind the camera talking about whatever. But we'll get back with you and let you know our results, and I'll post more videos, and for those of you that watch this video, and don't forget to, you know, comment, ask questions, uh, turn around, like my page, like my video, or maybe there's other stuff you want to know about, or you want to see more videos of. Let me know, and we'll see what we can do. Some of you might be into archery. I got a couple bows up there. One's hers, one's mine. So you know, keep watching, keep loading, keep shooting, and just keep enjoying life. And we will talk to you guys later.